Yo, what's up, guys? Welcome back to TWE Charts. It is Friday, man, and I wanna talk about AMC's short-term price projection. The last video I posted was going over the macro charts, and this one's gonna focus a little bit more on the micro chart going into next week because that is where we have the next point of interest. Now, remember, guys, on the points of interest, they're not guaranteed to have volatility. We just track this 13-day window, and if you're not familiar with the cycle, all right, what we track here is a 13-day window in which AMC has rallied in before using the 62-day cycle. Right in the beginning of the cycle here is where we experience that 13-day volatility window. And the correlation right now is 5 for 6. The only time where this did not go according to plan was the fake out here, right? Pump and dump happened in the after-hour session. Kind of makes sense. And this is the only time where we experience volatility outside of the 13-day window. So tracking this going into next week, again, it's just an opportunity in which AMC can go up, right? And typically this volatility window, calling it a POI, is anything going up and over 70%. That's the average of what we've experienced before. But again, does not need to happen, right? Nothing needs to happen here because there are points of interest in the cycle that don't have volatility. I mean, if the markets are trading sideways, if there's nothing going on in the markets and nothing is squeezing, right, or nothing is going up, then chances are we're not going to experience any volatility. But that being said, guys, I am bullish on this POI, though. I do think we're going to experience some kind of bullish pressure, and I do think the price is going to go up to about the $9 to $10 range, and I'm going to talk about why I believe that. All right? So let's get started. Let's do it. All right, so AMC right now is in this massive accumulation phase. All right, so this section here on the last video I talked about, I think we're in accumulation. So in market cycles, accumulation is just where large money, big money, even some retail accumulates shares. And after that, after accumulation phase, we head on over to advancing, which is where the price starts to go up, right? And with a high volatility stock like AMC, that is where the opportunity lies. So in this accumulation phase that we're in right now, we have to track some things. I'm going to be using some indicators as well to show you guys where I'm tracking this specific pattern. But first, got to bring back the cycle here and talk about what we're tracking, because we're tracking this inverse pattern, right? On the last video, I talked about the inverse arc formation that we had in June, which is the same thing AMC did here. And then we even have the same structure happening right now going into the second cycle. So this is June to November of 2021. Inverse, it's just flipped. You guys can take the same pattern here, flip it, and track it, right? So that's what we got so far, and it's tracking pretty good. So going on next week, mid-December time, it seems that AMC is going to climb based on this tracking. Now, it doesn't have to be one-to-one, right? This thing can delay itself a little bit. We know how the cycle works sometimes. Maybe a week could potentially be the case here, but I want to go over the setup here, what AMC is doing. So apart from the pattern here, we have resistance and support levels that AMC is respecting right now. We're trading in accumulation, so what is this pattern right now? We are trading in a wedge, okay? Take away the cycle. So if this next POI is going to be bullish, I would expect the price to climb within this 13-day window about 50%. I think that's doable, considering the markets right now are on headed towards all-time highs. I think we're going to get there next year. But before that, I do think there's going to be a small fake out in the markets. I think it's going to happen quickly, and I think that is where AMC is going to come back down. Because, guys, accumulation sucks, okay? Accumulation is just going to be back and forth. You can create wedges. You can create triple bottom setups. You can create just a massive double bottom setup. I mean, right now, AMC on the macro is is attempting to create a double bottom setup. But if you look at it this way and use reference patterns, the reference pattern that we're tracking right now is calling for a wedge formation. So about a 50% move is what I think is going to happen going into the end of December time. So probably 2 weeks of trading here. AMC can head from 7 all the way up to about 10. All right, so once we test this level of resistance, okay, descending resistance trend line here, why do I think we're going to come down? Well, this is where we're going to take a look at patterns. But first, I'm going to show you guys 2 sections here that we're tracking. These are theta burn sections, okay? Little phases in accumulation with options in the option chain. What stocks do when they have an option chain is these market makers, these, hedge funds, they use periods in the market to trade the stock sideways. And this is where they're collecting these premiums, right? Because they'll either dump it or they're going to pump it. And then if somebody is bullish or bearish in these ranges and the stock doesn't go down or up quickly, these guys are just collecting all those premiums because options are expiring. They just keep expiring. So you got to look at that. You got to look at option expiration dates. We do this a lot on the macro, and that is why I think the cycle works. I think that's why we have a high correlation in these, this very small window where we experience volatility, because AMC is known to well, we know that AMC has that correlation, right, where it does whatever the algorithm wants it to do. But that's why, I say you got to play the game. You got to figure it out, crack it out, and see what works, what doesn't work. And right now, I think this is the play here. So where else have I seen this pattern apart from the one that we're tracking right now? There's actually a better correlation with this overall macro accumulation section here. So this is not the only time, and this is where I'm going to pull up an indicator that I use. So it's called levels. All right, created this indicator. It's the most recent indicator on the Discord. If you want to check it out, click the link below. This is pretty cool because it tells you the levels that are oversold and overbought, and then creates 4 different sections here. These are bands, and it's a good way to see where you are in the cycle, where else this has happened before, and you can correlate that using other indicators, right? You don't want to just use this one, but everything else apart from the analysis. So let's go back on this other window here so you guys can clearly see it. All right. So previously we thought AMC was trading here in January, right? Which I think on the macro makes sense, but how quickly it went up did not happen, right? AMC did not go into oversold territory and then quickly climb back up, which is what happened in March. And this was a lot heftier too. This happened a lot quicker. So it's pretty crazy that these guys were able to basically inverse squeeze the stock and then trade it sideways for the amount of time that it's doing right now, right? So they're suppressing the heck out of this, which in the long term, you can only imagine how quickly the stock would turn around. Again, fundamentals are on check. Don't see an issue with that. So when there's this much suppression, the pop to the upside sometimes happens very, very quickly. And, it's the reason why in the first place, AMC went up 1,000% here and then 700% in June. So this section that we're in right now actually looks more similar to 2017. All right. And this is the pattern I am talking about here. So once it enters the oversold territory, it creates a descending channel here, and it looks so this channel is a wedge inside a macro wedge with a spring. I'm going to take this pattern here and show you guys what it looks like on the current chart. All right, let's bring it right over here. Make it a little smaller so we can see. Here we go. And from the looks of it, right, we have, so 3 times, this retests resistance 3 times. Now, right here, this is a double top, and it quickly falls back down. In this case, it's going to look a little bit different, but I think we are going to get a similar type of play here. We're on the third bounce, basically, on the third bounce. Now let's go on the 2 hour. I was on the daily there. Can really see everything. So why I think it's going to come down is, well, if the stock comes back up and hits resistance, right? If it does it like this, and then comes back down, well, now we hit the spring at some point. This doesn't have to track 1-to-1 to the 2017 pattern, right? Because, well, back then, if you look at the historical data, it doesn't look that great. I mean, I'd rather track something where the stock has squeezed, because we had an inverse squeeze here. So if we come back to 2021, the pattern we're tracking right now is pretty valid, because this did not accumulate. This was distribution the whole time, even though it looked bullish at first, right? We had a massive pennant, but it ended up breaking down, which is the same thing that we're seeing right here. It's just inverse, right? Inverse squeeze. You got your little arc formation, creates a wedge instead of a pennant, and then instead of breaking down, we're looking for this to break up. So it is going to be different, right? It doesn't have to be the same, but it makes sense that these guys are just trading the stock sideways, because, they're collecting so many premiums here. Like, people are probably bearish right now. They think the stock is going to come down, which it can. But if it comes back up and then people start being bullish again, just know that they have been suppressing the heck out of this, right? They've been suppressing it, and they've been trading it sideways, and have been successful trading it sideways since August. So accumulation sucks. Again, I'm gonna keep saying that, because it does. There's ways to trade accumulation for sure, and but here in the channel, we look at these volatility zones as the opportunity for potential upside or downside. And with accumulation, when you're good at tracking that as well, knowing when the stock has hit a level of resistance, it's oversold on certain indicators, it's tracking the cycle, all that stuff is checked off, then that also becomes an opportunity. But I personally don't trade AMC when it's outside of the volatility zone. Now that it's coming back in, again, I believe it becomes an opportunity, but you do you. And as always, guys, this is just my outlook. It's not financial advice. You do have to do your own DD at the end. If you don't know how this stuff works with the algorithm and the cycle, go do some research on that. There's many, many videos that go over the cycle and this approach. All right, so let me pull up one more thing to talk about here. Okay, so the price targets, because that was the short-term analysis here, right? We did the long-term analysis. The short-term analysis is basically calling for that 950 range coming up mid-December time, and then it starts heading back down. Now, on the way down, it does not have to create a new low, but it seems likely to me that they're going to keep trying to break that low until the stock has a major bounce. Now, this means in the short term, right, it has the potential to go up. If it breaks and keeps going higher, then we reevaluate the chart and go from there. But if it comes down, it sets things up to climb back in February for the next POI, the next point of interest. All right, because we have one now coming up right here. And the next one comes up in February. The one after that, we're looking at April time. So there's three very important ones. One of them is short-term bullish. The next one is looking to be pretty bullish to the upside. What I mean by short-term is we're just going to see some upside. It starts to come back down, trade sideways, and then we get a major POI that is expected to play out in February. The reason I think this is because we're tracking the overall markets here. I'm talking the crypto markets to have a nice rally around this time. And when the crypto markets have a major rally, the meme stocks do as well. So this is basically supposed to be a repetition, or at least some kind of repetition to what happened in June or January of 2021. That's what I'm expecting, right? But the markets, day by day, guys, day by day, why we're updating the chart today. I think it's looking good, but going into next week, definitely bullish. And that is it for this video, man. If you guys liked it, make sure you smash the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. All right. If you want to take a look at the indicators, I do have 6. We have 6 indicators here. It's a little indicator pack. There's more information on the Discord. If you want to click the link below, it'll take you straight there, and it goes over all of these guys. I use every single one of these every single day. Very helpful stuff. And yeah, it's a way we're able to spot a lot of these breakouts using the cycle. So all cycle indicators here. All right, guys, we'll leave it there for today. We'll see you on the next stream. Bye-bye.